Welcome to the Ohio Housing Finance Agency's how-to video on entering transfer tenant events manually in DevCo Online. Hopefully, as I'm going through the information, a lot of your questions will be answered. If your questions are not answered during this session, you can always submit questions to the DevCo Help Desk for assistance. We recommend, while using DevCo, that you're in Internet Explorer. Other web browsers can generate errors while using DevCo. So to get started, we'll go to the Ohio Housing Finance Agency homepage, which is www.ohiohome.org. About halfway down the page on the right-hand side, you'll find the DevCo link. This brings you to the DevCo homepage, which provides basic information on what's happening in DevCo and any updates or issues that are occurring, as well as any guides that we have available and other help-related information or technical assistance. So we have the DevCo Compliance User Guide, the DevCo How-To videos, which you will find this transfer video included there, and the DevCo Help Desk. For the Help Desk, you have basic categories that you can list for the type of issue that you're having. This helps us better track what areas of DevCo are having problems, and you can provide the project name, project number, if it's specific to one property, and also the types of any details and additional information to describe the type of issue that you're having. The DevCo Compliance User Guide is a great resource. It covers everything in DevCo that's involved with reporting and compliance. For the transfer events, you can find some information on those in the Tenant Income Certification section. Before getting started in DevCo, we'll talk a little bit about transfers in DevCo and when a transfer should be done versus a move out and move in for a tenant. For the tax credit program, if the owner said yes on 8B to the multiple building project question, then you can indeed treat it as a unit transfer, being mindful of the compliance with the next available unit rule and the applicable fraction for the new building. If the owner said no, you are not treating the building as part of a multiple building set aside. If the household moves from one building to another, it needs to be treated as a move out and a move in. The household would have to qualify at the current income limits in place at the time that they're moving between units, and therefore have a brand new move-in date for the purposes of the tax credit program. If they move within a building, then it is also a unit transfer. By answering no to 8B, the owner said each building is going to act like its own mini project. So we'll get started in DevCo now. At the top of the DevCo homepage, you have the blue button for DevCo Online. You can click on that. You can then log in with your user information. If you have not registered yet, you'll need to click the New User Register Here link. You can follow the How to Register video or check out the first section in the Compliance User Guide to learn how to access and register in DevCo. Once you're logged in, you'll be on the Programs page. You might see a slightly different list of links available. If you have access to any properties in DevCo, you'll have the Tenant Income Certification and Owner Certification link at the top of your page. So we'll click on that now. This brings you to the property listings. This is where you would see all the properties that you have access to in DevCo. And you will automatically see the 2014 and 2015 years listed. And once a new year has occurred, it'll be automatically populated. So once January 1st, 2016 comes around, you would automatically see 2016 listed also for each of your properties. DevCo always includes the current and previous years in the list that automatically populates. All transfer events need to be entered in the certification year that they occurred. So if you need a different year, you will want to follow some additional steps to get to those older reporting years or other reporting years. Where it says property name, click on the funnel and then type in part of your project name or all of the project name. And click Show All Reporting Years. This will give you all of the years available in DevCo for that property. Today we're going to be using 2015 for the example. Make sure that you choose the correct year that your resident is transferring in. Also remember that all DevCo tenant events need to be entered in chronological order, or you will have errors as you're entering new information. So once you've clicked on the date, you'll be in the property details. On the left side, you will see your project name. Above that is navigation for getting around in DevCo. And below that is your buildings. And then if you click the plus sign, also the units. This is where you will be entering any events by clicking on the plus sign next to the unit. You'll have the Add New Event available. So we're going to start with the unit that we're transferring into to make sure that it is set up correctly and that it is actually listed as vacant. So we're going to start in the building ending in 13 and use unit number 3. So we can see that we had a move-in event and then a move-out, or a transfer in and then a move-out earlier in the year. So this unit should now be listed as vacant, and we can double check by clicking on the project, the unit number, and we can see the status here is vacant. You always want to double check and make sure that your unit is listed as vacant that you're transferring into. Otherwise, it'll prevent you from completing the transfer out. And if you need to go back and correct information, you'll want to do that before you start the transfer out. So we'll now move over to the building and unit that we're transferring out of. So we'll go to the building 12 and unit 2. And we can see that we had our move-in at the beginning of January of 2015. We're going to click Add New Event. You can take a moment and double check all of the information that's listed here. It'll be grayed out and it'll pull whatever the previous household information and tenant information that was listed for that unit, whether it be a move-in, recert, or some other type of event. And it could be pulling it also from a different reporting year if you haven't entered anything in that new reporting year on the unit. So we look it over and it looks like we have all of the information that we need at this point. And we'll want to double check and make sure that we have the incomes listed. Those will be an important piece later on when we're making sure the transfer in is complete. So we'll enter our transfer date. It's the end of November. And press enter after entering the date. Selecting transfer out. This brings up the transfer to building and unit fields. We make the selections for these. So that DevCo knows what unit and building to add the tenant's information to. For this particular example with the Hess family house and household, they are moving to a 3-bedroom because they want to have more space for their 2 children. So we double check that we have the correct building and unit selected, and then click Update. We can now see the transfer out listed on the unit, and we'll now move back over to the other building and select our unit that they're transferring to, Unit 3. We can now see the transfer in listed for 11:30. You want to make sure that when you're entering that event date that you are using the date that they are transferring into the new unit. Currently, DevCo will list the transfer out and the transfer in on the same day, even though this is in conflict with how the programs the tenants are qualifying for are designed. Because of this limitation, that is why you will need to use the transfer in date on both events. So the move out event and the transfer in date, as you can see, have the same date listed, and you will be printing your transfer in tick or tenant income certification, and that's why you want to use the date for that, because it'll then be correct on the tick that's being printed. Note that a transfer out is supposed to be 1 day before a transfer in, even though the system listed them on the same date. If we had been unable to select a building or the correct unit, that would have meant that we did not have the unit or building vacant. So now we will take a look at our transfer in to make sure that it has all the information that is needed to print the tenant income certification. You will want to double check and make sure that your utility allowance is still listed, or you may need to update that based off of the new building or bedroom size, the type of utility allowances that are used there. So we can see that we have all of the main information at the top of the page is complete. We have the totals for the household income, the restrictions that they're meeting, but the tenant rent portion and the federal rental assistance were both cleared out, so we need to make sure that those are listed correctly. Depending on the circumstances, these numbers could be the same or potentially they could be changing. So we have those updated. All right, everything else at the top appears to be complete. So we move down, and no matter what information is populated above, you will still need to add each one of their individual incomes for your household members. This is a piece of information that is not transferred over as you do the transfer, but you will need it to have the tick print correctly. And I know from before that Victor Hess's income was from his employment, so we'll update that number again. And then we'll also add in Maria's income as well, which was also from employment. This information should be the same as it was on their previous qualification, recertification, or move-in event. So we'll click Update now that we have that information listed. And we'll double check all the information one last time. It all looks to be correct. So we are now ready to print the tick. At the bottom of the page, you'll click on View Tick. This now brings up the tenant income certification. You will want to click on the Export button and use PDF, or a PDF will automatically open when you click the View Tick button. You can also check the DevCo guide for additional information on printing in DevCo. And you can now see that the PDF has everything listed on the 2 pages. Having it print to the PDF or open in a PDF ensures that everything is formatted correctly on both pages and that it all fits onto the pages how it should. If you find that there are errors on the tick, please make sure that they are corrected in DevCo and then reprint if you have not already signed the tick, or add a clarification record, or make sure that the clarification record is included in the paper file as needed. If you have 2 tenants swap units due to current limitations in DevCo, you will need to list one of them as a move-in and a move-out, and the other can be done as a transfer. This is because DevCo has to have that vacant unit listed when it's doing a transfer. Make sure to provide a clarification record in the file, and you can include information on the notes for the tenant when you have that circumstance. So I'll go back to the event details. In this notes section, you can include information when you have to do, if you have to enter a transfer as a move-in and a move-out, even though it's a transfer. And you would want to include a clarification record in the file and make sure that that tick says that it is a transfer in, if it is in fact transfer in. This concludes our video on how to enter transfer tenant events. If you still have questions or concerns, please submit a question to the DevCo Help Desk, and thank you for watching.